There are powers invisible, yet stronger than steel, greater than armies, swifter than the lightning that splits the sky. These powers belong not to the many, but to the few. The chosen women who carry within them the lamp of spirit, the eternal flame of divine certainty. Life does not bestow such treasure casually. It is given only to those who have prepared their hearts, who have emptied themselves of fear, doubt, and worldly striving. Few women carry this spiritual power, because few dare to stand alone with God. Few dare to believe when appearances scream, impossible. Few dare to speak words of light when surrounded by shadows. Yet she who carries this power is unstoppable, for she does not walk by sight. She walks by inner vision, by the word of truth that never fails. This power is not born of striving, of pushing, of forcing. It is not born of intellect or ambition. It is the still, small voice that whispers, "Fear not, it is done." It is the assurance that comes when a woman aligns her thought with the eternal law of supply, harmony, and protection. When her word is spoken with faith, mountains move, seas part, and the crooked ways are made straight. The world may laugh, mock, or scorn, but she is unmoved. For she knows appearances are only shadows, she knows the unseen governs the seen. She knows every lack is an illusion, every obstacle a mirage, every chain already broken. She speaks as one having authority, and her words are creative substance, forming the path before her. Few women carry this spiritual power, for it demands purity of thought. The bitter word, the jealous glance, the hidden resentment, all these shut the door against spirit. But love, perfect love, keeps the channel clear. Love dissolves resentment, envy, and fear. Love opens the gates of supply and health and joy. A woman rooted in love becomes a vessel of miracle. This power is quiet yet commanding. It does not plead, it declares. It does not beg, it knows. When she speaks, her word carries weight. Because it is not her voice alone, but the voice of the infinite flowing through her. She has learned the secret surrender to the divine will, and the divine will becomes her will. She is rare, this woman. Yet the world waits for her. The world, weary of struggle, weary of noise and false promises, longs for the certainty she carries. She brings healing where there is pain, provision where there is lack, peace where there is turmoil. Not because she strains, but because she radiates. Few women carry this spiritual power. But to the one who does, life bends, doors open, and every promise is fulfilled. For she has aligned with the eternal law, and nothing can stand against the law of spirit in perfect action. Spiritual power belongs to the few who align with divine truth, for it cannot be seized by force, nor can it be manufactured by human will or ambition. It is not the product of intellect or cleverness, but the outpouring of a heart that has surrendered completely to the higher law. Many speak of wanting power, of wanting influence, of wanting to control their destinies, yet few are willing to pay the price of inner discipline, of cleansing the mind of fear, of sweeping away the dust of doubt, and of standing unshaken in faith when appearances rise like storms. True spiritual power is rare because it is pure, and purity is forged only through trials, through tests, through the fire of life that strips away all false supports until the soul stands naked before the infinite, trusting only in the unseen hand that governs all things. When a woman aligns herself with divine truth, she ceases to strive against the current of life. She no longer struggles to manipulate outer conditions, for she has learned that the invisible governs the visible. She speaks not from desperation but from authority, because she knows the eternal laws of spirit never fail. She has trained her thought to dwell, not on the shadow but on the light, not on the lack but on the supply, not on the sickness but on the wholeness that exists behind it. To her, every obstacle is only a mask, every barrier only a test of faith, every delay only a divine rearrangement that prepares the way for perfect fulfillment. She has exchanged the restless activity of the human mind for the calm assurance of divine law in operation. This alignment with divine truth is not a passive state, but a conscious choice made daily, hourly, moment by moment. It is the decision to refuse fear, to reject worry, to dismiss resentment, and to embrace love in every situation. Few can do this consistently, and that is why few carry this power. For the mind loves to wander, the heart loves to cling to old hurts, and the ego loves to insist on its own way. But the one who desires spiritual power must release these clutches and yield to the higher wisdom that knows better than the human self what is needed, when it is needed, and how it is to come. Such a woman is not moved by the opinions of the crowd, for she has found her center in truth. She knows that popular belief may be wrong, that appearances may be false, and that the noise of the world cannot shake the stillness of spirit within her. When others tremble at lack, she speaks of abundance. When others surrender to sickness, she affirms life. When others bow to fear, she stands in courage. Her words carry weight because they are not rooted in self, but in the eternal source of power. And the universe responds, for the law of spirit is exact, unfailing, and impartial. It brings to each one according to their belief, and she has chosen to believe only in good. The few who carry this spiritual power walk a narrow road, but it is a road of light. They are not entangled by endless conflicts, for they refuse to feed the shadows with attention. They turn their gaze toward the divine pattern, the perfect idea behind every imperfect form. They know that what they see is only a fragment, while spirit sees the whole. And so they trust when others collapse. They trust when the evidence seems dark. They trust when the path is invisible, because they know that truth never fails, that good cannot be withheld, that love is the final word in every story. Spiritual power is not noisy, not boastful, not clothed in dramatic display. It is quiet, steady, irresistible. It does not need to announce itself, for its results are its testimony. A woman aligned with truth may walk into a room and change the atmosphere without a word, for the vibration of her thought radiates outward, dissolving discord, uplifting minds, calming hearts. She is not drained, for her source is infinite. She does not burn out, for her strength is not her own. She draws from the eternal wellspring, and it flows without ceasing, refreshing her and all who come near. This power is not a gift of chance but of choice. Any soul may align with divine truth, but few are willing to release the illusions that stand in the way. It requires the courage to see differently, to speak differently, to live differently. It requires the humility to surrender personal will and embrace divine will. It requires the discipline to master thought and word, to guard against every negative seed, and to cultivate only that which is life-giving. Those who refuse this work remain ordinary, subject to the sway of circumstance. But those who embrace it rise above, becoming creators with their word, healers with their presence, and leaders by example. The alignment with divine truth creates a power that is felt in every sphere of life. In the realm of supply, it manifests as provision arriving at the right time, often in unexpected ways. In the realm of health, it manifests as strength, renewal, vitality, and freedom from affliction. In the realm of relationships, it manifests as harmony, reconciliation, love, and the drawing together of kindred souls. And in the inner life, it manifests as peace, serenity, and joy that cannot be shaken. These are not miracles to the one who walks in truth. They are simply the natural outcome of spiritual law operating without obstruction. The rarity of this power is what makes it precious. Many know the words of truth, but few embody them. Many repeat affirmations, but few believe them with every fiber of their being. Many speak of spirit, but few surrender to spirit fully. The distance between knowing and embodying is vast, and only those who walk it faithfully discover the treasure on the other side. These are the women who carry the power that cannot be stolen, that cannot be imitated, that cannot be counterfeited. It is not personality, not charm, not intellect, it is spirit, flowing through a vessel that has made itself ready. Faith, not appearances, governs outcomes, for what the eyes behold is often the greatest deceiver, while what the spirit knows is always the truest guide. Life constantly parades before us pictures of lack, images of sickness, shadows of failure, storms of delay, and voices that shout, "It cannot be done." Yet these appearances are but phantoms, fleeting masks upon the stage of existence, powerless in themselves. They hold sway only when believed in, only when given energy through attention and fear. Faith refuses them audience. Faith sees beyond the temporary curtain and affirms the eternal reality, the divine pattern, the perfect idea waiting to be revealed. Faith does not argue with appearances, it transcends them. To argue is to give power to the very thing one seeks to overcome. Faith declares without hesitation what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Faith holds to the invisible substance, knowing it to be more solid, more unshakable than the shifting evidence of the senses. When the outer world proclaims failure, faith quietly insists on success. When the body groans with weakness, faith affirms strength. When the purse seems empty, faith declares abundance. This unwavering conviction is the seed from which new conditions spring, for the unseen always molds the seen, and belief precedes manifestation. Those who live by appearances are like leaves tossed upon the wind, driven wherever circumstance blows them. Their moods rise and fall with the stock market, with the opinions of neighbors, with the whisper of bad news, with the rumors of tomorrow. They build their lives on sand, and when the storm comes, their house collapses. But those who walk by faith are anchored deep. Their foundation is not what the eyes behold, but what the spirit knows. They are not moved by fluctuations, for they understand that behind every shadow lies the light, behind every seeming lack lies the eternal supply. Behind every door closed lies another opening, greater and more fitting. Faith governs outcomes because it aligns the individual with the law of spirit, and this law is precise, exact, unfailing. It responds not to appearances but to belief. What a soul truly believes deep within becomes flesh, becomes fact, becomes experience. To believe in fear is to create its image. To believe in failure is to magnetize it. To believe in loss is to draw it near. But to believe in harmony, in abundance, in health, in joy, is to set in motion the invisible forces that bring these conditions forth. Faith is not wishful thinking. It is conviction so strong that it molds substance, bends circumstance, and rearranges the outer life to mirror the inner certainty. This is why appearances are powerless before true faith. Appearances are only effects, never causes. They are the shadows cast by yesterday's belief, the echoes of thought already spoken, the fruit of seeds already sown. To give them authority is to hand yesterday the keys of tomorrow. But faith looks away from the shadows and sows new seed, certain that in due season it will reap a harvest aligned with its conviction. The outer world may delay in reflecting the inner change, but faith waits without wavering, knowing that delay is not denial, and that the invisible work is already accomplished. Faith is the eye of spirit, and it sees what the physical eye cannot. Where the physical eye sees desert, faith sees springs. Where the physical eye sees ruin, faith sees renewal. Where the physical eye sees finality, faith sees beginning. This vision governs outcomes because it does not depend on the frail evidence of today, but on the unchanging truth of eternal law. Those who cultivate such vision become creators, not victims, for they no longer accept the verdict of circumstance. They write their own verdict in the language of belief, and life obeys their decree. Faith is not blind, though the world calls it so. Faith is the only true sight, for it gazes upon reality while others fix their eyes upon illusion. It requires discipline, for the senses clamor loudly, insisting that their testimony is final. But the one who holds to faith learns to silence these witnesses, to rise above their noise, to remember that appearances are nothing more than moving pictures projected upon the screen of life. The real may show lack, but the film is already changing. The real may show sickness, but healing has already been spoken. The real may show delay, but the divine timetable is never late. Those who master faith become steady in a world of storms. They cease to be tossed by each wave of circumstance. They are not swayed by the news of the hour or the rumors of men. Their confidence rests not in the shifting sands of economy, politics, or opinion, but in the eternal foundation of spirit. And because their trust is placed in what cannot fail, their outcomes cannot fail. Life bends to their inner conviction. Opportunities appear where doors once seemed shut. Strength rises where weakness once ruled. Provision flows where emptiness once lingered. What others call miracles, they call the natural operation of law through the channel of belief. Faith governs outcomes because it harnesses the creative power of the spoken word. When words are charged with conviction, they move substance. They set vibrations into motion, they summon the invisible into form. A declaration spoken in faith is more powerful than armies, more enduring than institutions, more creative than any plan devised by intellect. Appearances may mock, circumstances may resist, but the word spoken in faith cannot return void. It accomplishes that for which it is sent. The individual who speaks in faith knows that her word has gone forth into the invisible and is already shaping the outcome, whether or not the evidence has yet caught up. To live by faith is to live above fear. Fear is always born of appearances. It whispers of danger, loss, lack, failure. Faith silences fear by proclaiming truth. Fear weakens, faith strengthens. Fear delays, faith accelerates. Fear binds, faith liberates. And so the woman who chooses faith over appearances chooses freedom over bondage, certainty over doubt, creation over stagnation. Faith does not ignore appearances, it simply refuses to be governed by them. It acknowledges the shadow but denies its authority. It accepts the present but refuses to make it permanent. It sees the fact but insists on the higher truth. This stance is not denial but dominion. The dominion of spirit over matter, of law over chaos, of truth over illusion. Purity of thought and love keep the channel open, for the power of spirit flows only through a vessel that is clear, unobstructed, and receptive. The mind, like a window, can either allow the light to stream through or block it with the dust of resentment, the stains of jealousy, the fog of fear, and the cracks of anger. When the glass is clouded, the light struggles to shine. When the glass is clean, the brilliance pours in effortlessly. Spiritual power is not earned by striving, it is received by making space. It is not forced upon the heart. It is welcomed by removing the barriers that hinder its flow. Love, perfect love, is the great purifier, the force that washes away bitterness, dissolves envy, heals wounds, and restores harmony to the inner life. The law of spirit is exact, precise, unchanging. It requires alignment. Just as electricity flows through a wire unbroken, but ceases when the current meets resistance, so does the power of spirit flow through the thought made pure, but falter when the mind clings to shadows. Every harsh judgment, every grudge nursed in silence, every unspoken fear, becomes a knot in the channel, a barrier to the free passage of divine energy. The outer life then reflects this obstruction, manifesting as lack, confusion, discord, or delay. But when thought is purified, when forgiveness replaces resentment, when generosity dissolves envy, when peace overcomes fear, the channel clears, and the current flows strong once more. Purity of thought is not the absence of all activity, but the presence of right activity. A mind left empty will soon be filled with wandering images and doubtful voices. To remain clear, it must be actively filled with truth, with affirmations of harmony, with visions of good, with declarations of divine order. Each thought becomes a seed, and the soil of consciousness cannot remain bare. What is planted will grow, whether it be weeds of fear or flowers of faith. To cultivate purity is to plant only that which serves life, only that which reflects love. Love is the key that transforms thought into purity. Without love, even good intentions become brittle, even noble deeds become heavy. Love softens the heart, releases the grip of pride, and opens the way for spirit to express fully. Love has no rival, for where it abides, darkness flees. The mind that radiates love cannot cling to resentment, for love and resentment cannot dwell in the same place. The heart filled with love cannot harbor envy, for love delights in the good of others as in its own. The soul rooted in love cannot be shaken by fear, for perfect love casts out fear. It is love that keeps the channel wide, clean, unobstructed, and through this channel flows health, abundance, wisdom, and peace. The world often mistakes love for weakness, but in truth, love is the highest strength. It is not a soft sentiment but a radiant power. Love is the magnet that draws good, the solvent that dissolves barriers, the fire that purifies thought. Where others see impossibility, love sees solution. Where others cling to revenge, love chooses forgiveness and thereby opens the way for blessing. Where others shrink in fear, love steps forward in courage, for it trusts the eternal law of good. A woman who anchors herself in love becomes invincible, not because she forces her way, but because she aligns so fully with the universal current that nothing can withstand her flow. Every thought that passes through the mind either builds the channel or blocks it. Every word spoken either strengthens the flow or weakens it. Idle criticism, secret grudges, hidden complaints. These small shadows accumulate until the light seems dim. But a simple act of love, a single thought of forgiveness, a word of blessing, is enough to clear away the obstruction. Spirit does not demand perfection in the human sense, but it does require willingness. The willingness to let go, to release the tight hold of the lesser, to surrender the shadows for the greater light. Purity of thought does not mean naivety, it means clarity. It is the ability to look upon the world and see beyond its flaws, to gaze upon others and recognize the divine image within them, even when appearances hide it. To see through the eyes of love is to call forth the highest in every soul, to affirm their potential rather than their failing. This vision clears the channel not only for oneself but for others, for love multiplies its effect. As light shining through one clear window brightens an entire room, so does love radiating from one's soul illuminate the lives of many. The woman who cultivates purity of thought and lives in love becomes a vessel of miracles, though she does not chase them. She does not struggle for recognition, nor does she seek to control outcomes. Her very presence becomes healing, her words carry power, her thoughts move substance, because nothing within her resists the flow of spirit. She has no inner conflict, no divided will, no hidden bitterness. She lives in harmony, and harmony flows through her into the world around her. To keep the channel open requires vigilance. The mind must be guarded as a garden is guarded from weeds. Thoughts must be observed, tendencies corrected, inner attitudes refined. But this vigilance is not burdensome, for love makes it light. When love becomes the natural state, purity follows without effort. The heart that chooses love automatically rejects resentment, automatically forgives, automatically blesses. And so the channel remains open, not through struggle but through the constancy of love. This openness is the secret of spiritual power. It is not that some are chosen while others are rejected. It is that some allow the current to flow, while others block it with their own shadows. The current is universal, infinite, waiting to pour through every soul. But only those who clear the channel, who release the debris of fear and resentment, who fill their thought with love, experience its fullness. The spoken word creates and commands reality, for every word uttered carries within it the seed of manifestation. The tongue is not a casual instrument, but the channel of spirit, the brush that paints on the canvas of life, the key that opens doors unseen. Words are never empty sounds, they are forces, vibrations, energies that call forth substance, shaping the invisible into visible form. When spoken with conviction, words move mountains, dissolve barriers, and summon opportunities that appear as if from nowhere. The one who understands the creative power of speech watches carefully every declaration, for she knows her words are builders, architects of her destiny, and messengers sent forth to prepare her path. There are many who speak carelessly, scattering words of fear, complaint, and doubt without thought, and then they wonder why their lives reflect chaos, lack, and delay. The law does not discriminate. It gives form to the word, whether it be spoken in faith or in fear, in blessing or in curse. Every word is a seed, and the soil of the universe receives it impartially. If the seed is good, the harvest will be good. If the seed is tainted with worry, bitterness, or disbelief, the harvest will reflect that same vibration. The wise soul understands this, and therefore makes her mouth a fountain of blessing. Never of complaint, never of condemnation, never of despair. To speak is to command. Every word is a decree, and the universe obeys decrees uttered with faith. The spoken word is not mere sound but creative fire. It sets in motion unseen forces. It rearranges circumstances, it summons allies, It dissolves enemies, it straightens crooked paths. The outer world bends to the inner authority expressed through speech. What one continues to declare with unwavering conviction becomes the reality experienced. The lips may say, "I am strong," while the body feels weakness, but the declaration carries within it the seed of strength, and as it is spoken, strength begins to form, unseen at first, then rising until it is evident to all. The spoken word has authority because it is aligned with the law of spirit. Spirit itself is word. Creation began with declaration, not with effort, not with struggle. The Eternal spoke and worlds appeared. This same principle operates within the human vessel, for the soul made in the image of the divine carries that same creative gift. To speak is to shape. To declare is to build. To affirm is to create the mold into which substance must pour. Words are not wishes, they are blueprints. They outline the form before the builder arrives, and life itself fills the form according to the pattern spoken. Those who misuse words misuse their own power. The one who constantly says, "I am tired, I am poor, I am unlucky," calls forth more of the same. The one who repeats, "Nothing works out for me, I cannot succeed, I am surrounded by obstacles," engraves this pattern into the invisible, and the invisible faithfully produces its likeness. But the one who disciplines her tongue to declare, "I walk in abundance, I live in health, all things work together for my good," sows seeds of prosperity, wellness, and harmony. The evidence may not be instant, but the harvest is certain. For the word has gone forth and will not return void. The strength of the spoken word lies not in volume, but in conviction. A whisper spoken in unwavering faith carries greater force than a shout filled with doubt. The unseen listens not to the noise of lips, but to the vibration of belief behind the lips. When faith and word unite, creation follows. The heart must believe, and the tongue must agree. When thought is aligned with speech, the channel is clear, and the word spoken travels unimpeded into the realm of substance, where it takes root and grows into visible form. The spoken word also governs relationships, for every word directed toward another soul plants a seed in that soil. Words of encouragement build bridges. Words of kindness soften hearts. Words of blessing call forth good. Words of criticism, bitterness, or resentment sow division, discord, and strife. The wise woman uses her speech to uplift, to heal, to inspire. She speaks as one who carries treasure, never squandering it on idle chatter, but investing it wisely to multiply harmony. There is power not only in what is spoken aloud, but also in what is whispered in the silence of thought, for thought itself is silent speech. The inner word, repeated and repeated, imprints itself upon the subconscious, which in turn molds circumstances. To guard the spoken word, one must first guard the inner word. The stream of thought must be purified, filled with affirmations of good, saturated with declarations of faith. Then, when speech flows outward, it will carry the same purity and authority, and the outer world will reflect it. The spoken word is also the weapon of protection. When fear seeks to enter, the declaration of truth shuts the door. When danger appears, the word of faith builds a wall of safety. When lack threatens, the word of supply calls forth provision. Words spoken with authority are like swords that cut through the illusions of appearances, dissolving their hold and revealing the reality of spirit. To remain silent in the face of fear is to yield ground, but to speak truth is to stand firm, unshaken, immovable. Every great change begins with a word. Every new path is opened by a declaration. Every healing is initiated by an affirmation. The spoken word calls the invisible into form, and the form must obey. To say, "I am whole," even while the body aches, is to call forth health from the unseen. To say, "I walk in prosperity," even while the purse is empty, is to summon supply. To say, "I live in peace," even while storms rage around, is to command harmony. The word must be spoken, for silence holds no creative seed. The authority of the spoken word rests not on human effort but on spiritual law. It is not the personality that creates, it is the alignment with spirit that creates through the vessel of speech. The one who understands this speaks not in hesitation, but in confidence. She does not scatter words in fear, but speaks deliberately, knowing each utterance is a decree sent forth to shape her destiny. Her speech becomes sacred, her lips an altar, her words creative fire. A woman rooted in spirit becomes a vessel of miracle. For her life no longer flows from personal strength or human effort, but from the inexhaustible current of the infinite. She is not limited by what the world calls resources, for her resource is unseen, her supply is eternal, and her strength is drawn from a well that never runs dry. Where others struggle, she rests, where others fear, she trusts. Where others see only obstacles, she perceives hidden doors. Miracles are not extraordinary to her, for they are the natural fruit of her alignment with divine law. What the world names as impossible becomes inevitable when spirit flows unhindered through her. For she carries not her own power, but the authority of the eternal. Her presence becomes a testimony even before her words are spoken. She does not need to argue for her faith, nor convince others of unseen realities. The atmosphere around her shifts when she enters, for the vibration she carries is one of harmony, peace, and certainty. Discord cannot linger long in her company, for her rootedness in spirit dissolves it as sunlight dissolves mist. Those who are weary find rest near her, those who are troubled find calm, and those who are uncertain find clarity. She becomes a vessel not only for her own good, but for the good of all who cross her path. The miracles that flow through her are not always thunderous or dramatic, though they may be when required. Often they are subtle, unfolding like the bloom of a flower, so natural that the outer world scarcely notices until the change is complete. A need arises and supply appears. A sickness lingers and health gradually replaces it. A conflict rages and peace settles quietly over the situation. To her, this is not extraordinary, but the simple operation of spirit moving through an open channel. She does not claim the power as her own, for she knows she is but the vessel. She does not boast of miracles, for she understands they are the natural language of spirit. To become such a vessel requires surrender, for spirit flows only where resistance ends. The woman rooted in spirit has released her insistence on personal control, her clinging to narrow plans, her demands that life bend to her will. She has yielded to the higher order, trusting that divine wisdom surpasses her limited understanding. In surrender she finds strength. In yielding, she discovers authority. In releasing her small plans, she inherits the vast design of the infinite. This surrender does not make her passive, it makes her powerful. It does not leave her empty, it makes her full. Through her emptiness of self, spirit fills her to overflowing, and the overflow becomes the miracle that blesses others. Her words are different from ordinary speech. When she speaks, the weight of spirit rests upon her declarations. She does not scatter idle words of complaint or fear, for she knows her lips are channels of power. She speaks with calm assurance, and circumstances respond. She speaks words of life over the sick, and health awakens. She speaks words of peace into turmoil, and harmony appears. She speaks words of provision in lack, and supply manifests. Her speech is not loud or dramatic, it is steady, certain, creative, and her words become flesh before her eyes. Her thought life is equally disciplined. For she understands that miracles begin in the silence of the mind, before they appear in the realm of form. She guards her inner vision as carefully as one would guard a garden from weeds. She allows no seeds of resentment, envy, or fear to take root, for these would clog the channel. Instead, she cultivates thoughts of love, of faith, of harmony, and these thoughts become the soil in which miracles grow. Her imagination becomes a sacred ground where divine ideas are planted, watered with faith, and brought forth in time as visible blessings. The woman rooted in spirit radiates love, and this love is itself a miracle. It heals wounds invisible to the eye, reconciles enemies who seemed beyond repair, restores hope where despair reigned. Her love is not sentimental or fragile, it is strong, unyielding, steady. It is love that flows not from her own emotions, but from the heart of spirit itself. This love cannot be exhausted, cannot be offended, cannot be diminished, for it is drawn from the eternal source. And wherever this love flows, miracles follow. The miracles that appear through her may take many forms. They may be provision when there was none, protection in the midst of danger, guidance in the face of confusion, or opportunities where doors seemed sealed. Sometimes they appear as inner transformations, fear replaced by courage, sorrow turned into joy, bitterness melted into forgiveness. Sometimes they are outer transformations, the sudden resolution of a problem, the arrival of unexpected resources, the healing of a condition long thought incurable. She does not dictate the form, for she knows Spirit chooses perfectly. She simply remains the vessel, open, receptive, aligned, and the current flows as it will. Others may marvel and call her life blessed beyond measure, but she knows that what they call miracle is simply the law of Spirit working unobstructed. She does not chase signs and wonders, for she understands they are byproducts of alignment, not goals in themselves. Her focus remains on being rooted in Spirit, keeping her thought pure, her word true, her heart filled with love. From this root springs the fruit, and the fruit is miracle after miracle, each in its perfect season. The woman rooted in Spirit does not live in fear of lack, for she knows supply is limitless. She does not tremble at sickness, for she knows health is her inheritance. She does not bow to appearances, for she knows they are shadows. Her confidence rests not in the shifting sands of circumstance, but in the unchanging foundation of the eternal. This confidence radiates from her being, and others draw strength from it. Her faith becomes contagious, her assurance a beacon, her presence a quiet command that reminds others of their own divine connection. She becomes an instrument of divine order, often without effort or even awareness. She may speak a word in passing that answers another's deepest prayer. She may walk into a place of discord and bring peace without intention. She may extend a hand or a smile that becomes the turning point in another's life. The miracles that flow through her are not always seen, yet their ripples extend far, changing lives in ways she may never know.